Hello folks and welcome to Tippcast with myself, Shane Stapleton, as always joined by the head of sport and the Nina Guardian, Shane Brophy, and delighted to say we have a couple of brilliant guests on the show ahead of the county final between Loughmore and Toome. It's Micheal Webster of Loughmore and Tony Delaney of Toome. I'll start off with you, Webby, seeing as you have the crest up on screen and everything. You were good enough to do that for us. How much did you enjoy over the years those big clashes with Toome, or how much did you hate them?
Yeah, I suppose looking back now, I suppose it was great to be part of. I suppose when I started, I suppose Toome were when I started off. I suppose Toome were at the peak. I suppose they had a great team, and I suppose we had many battles. I suppose in Templemore, and I suppose I was thinking about the last few days. When I think back, I suppose it was 4 county quarterfinals and a semi-final loss, I suppose, between 2000 and 2008, and most of them by 2 or 3 points. There was one replay. Great battles, and I suppose Loughmore and Templemore, I think it was the place to be back in the day. It's Loughmore and Toome, and I suppose Toome had a great team, and I suppose they were deserving winners on most days. I suppose we were battling with the football, I suppose, like we are still, and but I think they were level above the rest, and I think they were probably like teams now, that inter-county standard where I suppose we weren't at then, and I suppose when you look back at it, you can't say that we were good enough. I suppose we weren't afraid of them, but I suppose maybe we didn't have the belief maybe to get over the line, and I think Tony will agree. I think Toome, every time they tugged out, they believed they could beat everyone, no matter who they were. You know what I mean? And that's the fear factor you have to win county finals. So, but yeah, they were great memories, and great games to be part of.
Yeah, Tony, what do you think of when you think of the clashes between Toome and Loughmore in your playing days?
Yeah, I suppose I was there a few years before Micheal came in the scene, so I think I came on and I remember going to a county quarter final. I got caught in traffic. I was late for the match, and they'd given me a place to someone else. When I got into it, they couldn't wait any longer. They were getting ready to go onto the field, but I came on in it anyway. But I got 2 yellow cards anyway. Got sent off in a throw-in. So I think that could have been. We went on to win the county final. But Micheal mentioned, there about Templemore. We had a couple of battles in Nina, but in particular the ones in Templemore, I used to actually love playing Loughmore because you know what you were coming up against. But one of the days it went to a draw match, and probably they were in the football and they didn't come out. They didn't want to play. There was no one knew there was to be extra time, and they refused to come out and play. And would you believe it? We always said if they'd come back out that day and played, we felt they could have beaten us. They had us on the rack completely. And, and I'm not being cocky or arrogant, that Loughmore team that Micheal was on probably would have won a couple of county finals, only for the Met, only for where we were probably at our peak at the time. But there were great battles, they were tough, they were honest, and, so as myself and Micheal ended up marking each other a good few times in the latter end. So,
you marking me, Tony, more like
it. It's a good old crack, you know what I mean? And yeah, look, it's fantastic. Micheal just said there, I probably didn't appreciate it as much what we won, but gone over to 2 weeks ago on the Saturday last Saturday week to Semple Stadium brought back so many memories again. And look, you'll never get them back. And I probably only now I'm beginning to look at it, and I suppose getting ready for Sunday. And I suppose it does make an incentive for me as well. Having a son on it, I think adds that bit of incentive as well. So yeah, history. I hope history repeats itself, and Loughmore is still the edge, a little notch behind us, but we'll have it all to do.
Yeah, it's very much Micheal, it's sort of a flip of what was back then. This Loughmore team is coming in as the elder statesman, the loads of experience, where Toome are coming in. This was the new kids on the block as well. So it's sort of from your time, it's completely flipped.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose 2007 we got the breakthrough. We won the county final and went on and won the Munster Club. I think that was the big turning point in Loughmore belief, and a lot of them young fellas that are playing next Sunday were in primary school when we brought the cup to the school, that Monday, and I remember meeting a few of them, a couple of years ago after the county final, and that's, they said it to me. It was that we inspired them, to go on and to play. And I suppose then that's where it's coming through. There's great talent, but I suppose it's just the belief and the buy-in, and those lads, what they've done in the last few years, even since like when we won the double in 13, I thought it was amazing. Like, but like they've to win it again 8 years later and to be, you know, in 2 county finals and the juniors, obviously this was in the junior. It's just amazing, you know. It's credit to the boys, like, and that's hard work, you know, and it's no different to Toome being in the county final. I think when you look at the two teams, they're two of the hardest working teams in you know what I mean, in the county, and that's why they're deserving to be in the final.
Yeah, Tony, like if there was Ken Dunn was saying that there's the kind of two teams are kind of mirroring image of each other, like, and just in terms of that work rate and that, like, they get the very, very best out of each other.
Yeah, to be fair to the management team, I think they've got a lot out of the Toome senior team this year. I think each game, you know, I thought we left an our final behind us, but I think both the players and the management have slowly but surely sort of made some positional changes as well, and I think that has stood to them. But you know, I don't want to get into Loughmore and Toome, they're two country teams. You know, I think Loughmore proved that against Thurles Sarsfields last Sunday week again. So we are, I think we've always been a mirror of each other, you know, and it came down to maybe who had a couple of the caliber players on the day, because one thing when you play Loughmore is, you know, that if they're in the game, they'll stay in the game, you know, they don't roll over, and they've proved that. And look, Micheal mentioned the football, like, what a remarkable club, and we've said that openly without ever going to meet them next week, that what they've achieved with hurling and football, like, for weeks solely concentrate on the hurling, and I think that makes their achievements even all the better.
You know, the games that you would have had back then, I'm sure would have been hard hitting. Micheal, being marked by Tony, what sort of a day did you know you were in for when you went out, and how did it normally go?
Do you know, like, it's I suppose when you're marking a guy, I suppose, that has won county finals before, I suppose to me, it was about getting, you know, you get respect for yourself, and if that's, you know, given, you know, a dig back, or I get, you know, when Tony gives you a dig, like, you don't lie down, like, you know what I mean, it's a man's game, and I suppose that's where you earn the respect, like, you know what I mean, because you know, you're wearing your club's jersey going out, like, and you do your best, like, you know what I mean, and I think, you know, Toome and Loughmore, you know, we often meet Tony and meet the lads, you know, after that, great friends, like, you know what I mean, we left it on the field, like, you know, but I think it's, you know, you have to put your body on the line, you know what I mean, and get that respect, and I think, you know, and that's why, and we did get respect from Toome, in fairness, to, you know what I mean, even though we lost a few of those games, but, like, you know, we died with our boots on, you know, and that's what it's about, like, you know, at the end of the day, once you can leave it all out in the field and say you did your best, you know what I mean, there's no more you can do, like.
Yeah, Tony, obviously you had a team full of brilliant hurlers, and, you know, you always, you know, fought unbelievably hard. But, like, in terms of, like, mindset and the hardness and imposing yourself and nearly having the other team sort of half bet before you went out, like, how would you be steeling yourself for a game, or preparing, or making sure we're going to let them know that physically they're going to be in for something today?
Yeah, I think, Shane, to be fair, that team we were on, we respected everyone we played, and we definitely respected Loughmore when we met them. But we respected every team, but we didn't fear anyone, and we probably believed every day we put on the jersey that we were better than who we were going playing against. And I think Webby alluded to that there earlier, like that maybe they weren't convinced where we were convinced. And yeah, look, we were able to, we had the physical players as well, but, you know, a lot of them went on to training, and some of our training sessions back in the 90s and 2000s weren't over pleasant, I can assure you. And, you know, so what you ended up seeing at training sometimes came onto the field, and that's done to us, where I think, you know, the game has changed now.
Okay. And in terms of marking Micheal, to flip the question on its head, what was it like marking Micheal, and what did you have to prepare for?
Well, sure, he was a couple of inches above me anyway, and he was very good in the air. So, you know, when you met Micheal, like, one of the things I had to learn when I marked Micheal was, you know, if the ball came in high, which he was their target man, how I was going to be able to counteract him getting the ball into his hand, because that probably was his main strength. So there used to be a little bit of, we call it there, off the ball stuff. But, like, to be fair, Webby wouldn't lie down. But I remember he catching a ball off me went out to the wing one day in a match, and I didn't follow him out, but he got it and threw it over the bar, and he came back in and told me it was finished. So we had to, as the fella says, we used to entertain each other a little bit. But to be fair, one thing I'll say is, no matter what happened between the two of us, every time the match was over, the two would smile and we'd shake hands. And if we met for a pint in Templemore or wherever, even there a year ago, we'd meet, we'd have a chat. So that was the one thing I'd always say with the likes of Loughmore and even Mark and Micheal, that look, you know, he got a run with Tip, he played with Tip, you know what I mean? He had that ball winning ability, and you know, it's a skill that I wouldn't have having playing in the backs, and you know, that adds massive, you know, benefits to any team because he had good lads around him as well. Plus, he was able to cause that. Was we had lots of all. Micheal, I tell you, we used to have lots of all off the ball stuff and that. But to be all good crack, but to be over.
No one died. Yeah, no one died. Like, you know, and that's the main thing. I enjoyed it. Like, geez, Joe, the tougher was, the more I enjoyed it, because you know sometimes you can find if you're marking a lad and he's not giving you a dig, or he's not, you know, that tight, you're not getting into the game. Whereas you get a belt of a lad, you know, your tether is up, then it's easier to get into the game. So sometimes you'd be actually hoping to get a belt to get into the game early on, you know.
Yeah, well, like, take us through your average sort of build up to a county final, whether it's the week into it, the day into it. Like, were you always cool, calm and collected? Were you trying to distract yourself, or, you know, what was it like for you?
Yeah, I don't know, like with me, it never bothered me, like, and that's, you know, I suppose, like, I came late, you know, playing with Tip and stuff like that, and even in that situation, you know, it didn't matter if there was 20 people or 20,000 people there. Like, you know, I was always focused on, and I suppose for me it was like it just came from my underage. I suppose I was, you know, a late enough developer, and you know, you get a lot of knocks in school and stuff where you wouldn't be on teams and stuff, and I always had you know, a point to prove, you know, not to myself, because I suppose I knew what I could do, but I suppose, you know, that you weren't, I suppose, you know, a star player, but you know, you had qualities that could, you know, contribute to a team, and I suppose that was, to me, every day I went out had a point to prove, and I had something in my head, and I worked to that goal, and I think that's what if you can get carried away with, I suppose, the occasion, and it is a great occasion, you know, the parades and all that, but you know, as I always said to lads, you know, you treat it as another game, like, you know, like, leave the celebrations till after, because, you know, I remember we going down, I think, to 2004, we won a Munster or a county final, our first senior football county final as a group, my group, and we went down to play Waterford, or Stradbally at Waterford, and we go down in the bus, and there was a lot of, you know, there was a bit of crack and giddiness, and I always said to myself after, like, we left that behind us because lads were too giddy, you know what I mean? We weren't focused. It was I think our first away trip in the Munster club, you know, and like Stradbally went on and contested the Munster final that year, like in the football, like, you know, so, you know, you can't let those big days get you. You have to have a focus on whatever, you know, whatever it is, whatever you think of, you have to come up with something, because if you go in there, like, you know, with your head in the air, the game could be over in, you know, 20 minutes, and it's too late then. So yeah, definitely, I'd always have a focus, and just, you know, my job, you know, the work was getting in the first hook, getting in the block, getting in a tackle, you know what I mean? You know, creating a score, whatever it is, or getting a score, and then you're off then, like, you know what I mean? But you can't be waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, Tony, I think, is it you and Philip Shanahan have the full 11 from that 17 years, isn't it?
No, myself and Terry
Sorry.
Terry have 11 each.
Yeah, and I think it was 11, and you only lost one final. I think it was 11 from 12 finals. I think it was 06 was the only one you were beaten in.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, like it's some run of consistency that you performed every final day.
Yeah, look,
is there any one that stands out?
Well, I can tell you the one that does stand out is the one we didn't win against Loughmore, and we're up 7 points, or not against Portland, and we're up 7 points. We stole a few, you know what I mean? They're not, you know, if I look back in it, I would say even winning the 91 North final for the first time in 31 years, the hype around that was fantastic. And look, we did go on a run, Shane, and look, I enjoyed every one of them, because every time you played them one, you were going to say, this could be my last, this could be my last. And that's sort of what we did, and maybe that's why we won so many. Did we steal a few? We did, and, you know, the ones you steal. But then, you know, Micheal mentioned the football there. We underachieved, and I've always said this, we underachieved then outside of the county, whether we took it for granted or we were happy. But look, it's probably a great record, Shane. I don't, you know, I don't look into it that much. I always say to the lads there, let them make their own history now. If they go back in the history books, they can't take from us what we won. But yeah, look, it was fantastic, but we probably never embraced it enough to understand what we had achieved.
Yeah, and I'm sure, just talking to you yesterday, I'm sure probably this Friday night, Saturday night, like all those finals, you would have been tucked home in bed, or I don't know if you did the Johnny Pilkinson thing, and had a few pints the night before to relax it, but like to come in as a supporter for this one, as a father as well, and I suppose to be able to enjoy the build up this week.
Yeah, and look, maybe for the quarterfinals I might have drank a few pints or the North final, but when I got to the serious stuff, but I started stuck to my own routine, all the time when I was playing, but some of that things changed because in the early years on a Sunday morning I used to go visit Billy McCormack and John Joe, and they passed away, and that was gone. So I did that to something else, and then my father died before the 99 county final, and then I started going out the mornings. Then after that, on the mornings, I go out to the grave, and that became sort of part of my routine. And sure, I did that until I was probably finished. But, for Saturday night, I'm not one of these supporters or fathers that jumps up and down at matches either, Shane, and I've never got involved with Darren, even though I was over to him when he was playing, but I've always left him since he was 8 or 9 years of age to do his own thing and learn it his own way. But it is, like I would have seen in the semi-final, there was a bit of emotion, there's a bit of proudness there when you have a son. But then you want the club to get back to where they want to be and forget about talking about these teams that won 3 and 4 in a row. That's, for me, that's history. And, so look, will I be out? Will I do anything different Saturday night because I'm a spectator? No, but I know what I'm going to do Sunday, regardless of what happens with the match. But we'll be hoping, look, we know the challenge we have ahead of us. But it's up to the players. They have to get their own routine. I think they're going to keep, they're keeping a very low profile, Shane. And, they're going in as underdogs, which suits us.
Yeah, just Micheal, like you gotta you're getting a lot of national headlines for I suppose the fighting on two fronts. Do you ever get kind of fed up about those sort of things? Because I'm sure and I'd say a lot of it is just people don't understand that you're a football club long before you were a hurling club. The hurling really only came on in the 80s. So you're that you taking, I suppose, focusing equally on both codes. That's what you always did.
Yeah, I suppose, look, I grew up, as a young fella, watching my father go out, playing with Tip, and I suppose, I didn't watch him play with Tip, but I saw him playing with Loughmore in the football, I suppose, in his last county final. I remember the county final, and so it's been a football club, until 1980 they went up, because my father would have played intermediate hurling, and they went up senior and they won in 88. But I suppose, look, there is a lot of hoo-ha, you know what I mean, and reports and stuff, but we don't buy into it a lot more. I think we love both of Micheal. I know playing hurling, even with Tip, I used to love coming back playing football with Loughmore, just something different, to change it up, yes, look, there's been years there we've had a few injuries and you can't sustain it, but they seem to, every few years come back and, contest in quarterfinals, semi-finals and finals and both, and look, as Tony says, you only have a short career, and looking at this, some of them lads, they have 2 senior doubles, one already, it's amazing, the success that they've won, and long may it last. And I think it's good, the football there, keeps the physicality, the freshness. You see it nowadays in the hurling, the way it's gone with the, this hand passing game. There's a lot of tracking, moving again. Football. That's all football based. Holding on to possession of the ball. Retaining the ball, moving it on. And I think that's a trump card, in a way, with Loughmore, is that they have that, mobility and I suppose the head to know where to move once the ball is given, you know what I mean. So it does stand to them. But look, we don't buy into it. It is what it is. We're used to it. We're doing it since we were in nappies or came out in nappies. So it's nothing new to us.
Tony, just to talk about Ken Dunn's influence, and not only his influence, but the injection of really quality young players that you've had in the last year or two, not to mention maybe a couple more that'll come in the next year or two as well. So it's it does feel like this Toome team is really coming.
Yeah, I think you need to get a couple of marquee players. And look, everyone talks about Dara, but to be fair to Ken, he carries massive respect in the club. Look, he's given, he gave his career to Toome Vara, was, probably, I'd say, the best free taker, in history is in Toome Vara. He was a phenomenal free taker. And But the underage structures have come on. And look, I think as well, Shane, like that you get, like we came with sports that we had county minors every year under 21. So I think you have to be lucky as well. And a group of players have to come along. But we have some exceptional talent come along. But I suppose Dara is getting all the limelight. And I have to say, like, I've seen him since a young lad. Did I think he was going to be good? Yes. But at the level he's at, he has it all.
Okay. There's a comment here from First Touch Second Hand. Think I saw Tony play midfield for Ballymackie Bees last Sunday. By God, he didn't look out of place. Is that true?
Yeah, still playing junior soccer at 53. So, and I think it goes back to just loving the whole sport and even the competitive. You know, five-a-side soccer wouldn't interest me, where you're going out and you're competitive. And I think when you have that all your life, it just I love it there. I'll go training out tonight at 8 o'clock, and absolutely love the whole bit of competitiveness. And look, I'm giving it up for the last few years, but we'll get this season out of it again anyway.
Just Micheal, just on I suppose Loughmore, and I suppose if you do get over the line this year, you probably give a bit of credit to Toome, because like Paul Tracy's your S&C coach, he's Ken Dunn's first cousin, like so. And like I was in Templemore the first championship match against Sarsfields, and you finish like a train, in every match. Like it's, and so somebody, Eamon Kelly, said to me, like, to prepare for a dual campaign like that, you need to have banked that stamina work that can avoid injury, and it's definitely paid off so far.
It is, yeah, and it's important. Like you can do all that work too at the start of the year, and you can I suppose when the hurling starts in, and it's very easy to forget about it, I suppose, and not to maintain that fitness, and I suppose like the boys about it. I remember I met Eamon there early on in the year, and I was talking to him, and he just said it was phenomenal, like this training apparently that they were doing for this, the
zoo training.
Gazoo training. It was very hard, like, and I was talking to the chairman was telling me, Joe Ryan, he said not one of them, died away from it and came back, and that's on the players, I suppose. They just buy into it, and that's, as Eamon said earlier on there a few months ago, that his mother could manage the boys, because like they just turn up and they just do it. And yes, you need, because I know from years ago when I was playing football and hurling before I went into inter-county, sometimes if the body would feel it, and you'd be under pressure, and if you weren't doing the right things, or if you hadn't the right, like we didn't do S&C back then, like it was just running laps, like so I suppose it's more scientific nowadays. And yes, they're definitely in great shape, like and seeing them in the football last week, like it was just phenomenal just to see the running off the ball, and they were able to slow it down, speed it up whenever they wanted, like and they just dictated. But like that's on the players, like you can do what you want at the start of the year. I've seen loads of S&C going on with clubs, and then come the end of the year it's sort of forgotten about. So you have to maintain it the year out, like what I mean, otherwise you're going to get the injuries. And they've done a great job, in fairness, the coaches and the staff up there, to keep the lads fit, like
Tony, this Loughmore group, they sound like the same group you had back in your day, that you sort of self-policed yourselves. You didn't need a captain to pull lads together, or you didn't even need a coach or a manager, that once you turned up a training, you knew what to do.
Yeah, so if you went back and asked some of the coaches that, they mightn't agree with you. But you know what? It goes to show there, well, maybe it's talking like that, you put in the base at the start of the year. But actually, everyone keeps saying you can't beat matches. And like Loughmore, probably over the last number of weeks, their training is fairly limited to what they can do. But they have so many dual players. And you know what? That actually is probably standing to once you don't pick up a couple of injuries. But, but Loughmore have been there, they have some phenomenal players. And, but they're just, you have to take their hat off them again. They're just a fantastic club, and to be able to operate at that level. But if you probably have someone coming in, and all you want someone is steering the ship, because they're driving it themselves all the time. And, you have Noel there, dictating, dictating the whole way they want to probably train, and the level of that they have to be at, and professionalism. And look, I suppose, John is hurling out of his skin, had a star into football again the weekend, but, if he were still hurling today, there's only two players I'd love to mark next Sunday, would be either Noel or John, because that's what you have to put yourself up against and the better the wearer, I always believe that you had to perform better. So, Yeah, there'll be lots of battles all over the field, and look, probably fitness will come in a little bit in the end as well. But our lads are fit also.
Just in terms of go
sorry,
on,
Shane. Just on that, what Tony said there, they are fit, and I remember, I'd be friendly. I know Shane Hassett well, and I remember saying to him there at the end of last year or start this year, I saw Toome in the stadium last year. And I thought they weren't fit, and I thought a few of them weren't moving, covering ground. And the stadium is a big field, and if you can't move in there, good hurlers will find space. And the difference this year, there's a huge difference I see in Toome, their fitness. Like even McCarthy there in the second, the amount of balls they turned over, and that's a credit to Ken and Shane and lads. You know what I mean? And the players, obviously. Do you know what I mean? But they're a way different team this year, I think, than last year. That fitness and. Tony's dead right. They'll definitely, they won't shy away, and they'll keep with Loughmore, I think, the whole game.
Yeah, just in terms of speaking, your son Darren is playing on Sunday. Like I think he's been an unherded cog in that team since he was moved to the half forward line. I suppose I would have he's been predominantly maybe a half back over the years, but just the way he's getting on the ball and just bringing others into the play. It's a very simple role, but he's been very, very effective.
Yeah, he probably goes a little bit under the radar, to be honest about it, Shane. He does a lot of donkey work for him, but Darren always had intelligence, and he was able to read the game, and when he gets on the ball, he's good on the ball. And I think that then if you have that sort of in you can get around the stadium. And to be honest, the stadium probably suits you a little bit better. If Micheal mentioned reading the game, and yeah, he's there, he's there 15 years now, so he has to be able to show leadership as well. And he was a half-back all his life, and got moved to the forwards. Owen moved him there a couple of years ago, and it's worked out well for him, Shane. He struggled at the start of the year. He wasn't getting much game time in the north, but since he's come back in now, and again, probably had to get it. He'd been sort of injuries over the last few years with his grinds, but to be fair, has hurled well in the last couple of games. But he'll have to hurl better next Sunday again.
Micheal, is there any matchup that you're looking forward to in this match, or that you think will be crucial?
Yeah, definitely. I think the two centre forwards and the two centre backs, it's going to be a big game. I think the last day, like Tomas McGrath and Kevin McCarthy, huge games. Really, really impressed with Kevin. You know what I mean? He scored 5 points, but just the movement off the ball, you know what I mean? Creating, taking your centre back out of position, you know what I mean? And to me, those two, I suppose, positions are going to be very crucial in opening up the defence. Who does the damage as a centre forward, or who shackles them as a centre back, and also, I suppose, for the Toome side, Darren McCarthy, I suppose, if you look at the last day, the 2 goals, and in fairness to him, they weren't easy goals. He was under pressure, you know what I mean, and he managed to get those strikes in. Just great 2 great goals. But I suppose in the first half against Sarsfields, we leaked 2 goals early, and that was a strong wind, and you couldn't shoot from 40 yards out, and I think Brian should have probably sat more back in the D, and I don't think those goals would have been leaked. Let them have it out the field. So it's all, it'll be interesting. I'd say, maybe would Loughmore put Ed Maher on him? Might have that, the legs on him, to stay with him, and Brian definitely sitting back. But definitely those 2 positions, the centre forwards and the centre backs, I think there'll be great battles, with Liam Ryan and Mossy and Brian and Kevin. They'll definitely dictate a lot what will go on in the game.
Yeah, what do you think, Tony?
Yeah, I think all the focus is going to be probably, talking about Darren McCarthy. Then all the focus with Toome will be probably every club wants to, how do we diminish the effect both Noel and John McGrath have on the team. But finals often end up that you have some lad that has been sort of playing okay, and then has a stormer. And I think we have a few players that haven't hit the heights that they're capable of, and I'd be expecting them to our forwards to hit a couple of more of our forwards that have serious potential. So I wouldn't be over worried about the matchups. It'd be, do we need to curtail John and Noel? But I think you can get over focused on the 2 of them, and everyone has a job to do. And if you're going to a county final, say, with 13 of your players playing to the level they can, that will sort of eliminate the effectiveness of other players as well. But if they decide to let them dictate the game, we'll be in dire trouble. And our wing back is our half back line probably will have to be really, really effective. And look, I think turnovers and start at number 15 is where the defence starts. So, I think there'll be lots of other battles that people won't even talk about. That'll be more intriguing.
And before we let you go, lads, you've been great with your time. Just to get your predictions and why you think either team will win. Let's start off with you, Tony. Who's going to win and why?
Toome Vara, history. We don't fear anyone. When that jersey goes on the lads on Sunday, they'll realise like what's expected of them. And down to the years, we have a superb record in finals and tradition. I know Loughmore traditional, and I think that will stand to us and the belief. And like, there's no weight on Toome's shoulders going in on Sunday, because we're like the bookies said 5-2, 1-4 to Loughmore. So, I honestly believe that Toome will win on Sunday.
Okay, Micheal.
Yeah, look, I suppose it's novel pairing, and that most of the lads that are playing don't have history, you know what I mean? But I suppose I'd be hoping a lot of the younger fellas in Loughmore remember the pain we suffered to Toome back in the day. They would have been supporters. But like, I suppose when you look at it coming in, I suppose Toome, had Brackens and McCarthy, probably had the easier draw coming in. Loughmore had, Thurles and Killerwan, Killerwan, obviously the champions. So they had a tougher route coming in, and I suppose, you're hoping the experience that they have will get over the line. I suppose it'll be an nervy day for a lot of the Toome lads starting, their first county final, and it is a big occasion. But also, I suppose, for Loughmore, I know young Kieran McCormack's grandfather passed away there yesterday morning. Pat, great Loughmore man, great supporter, and he's definitely he'll be the 16th man there on Sunday for Loughmore. The boys will really want to do it for him, because Pat was such a presence in Loughmore, his supporters, and always give a good rendition. A lovely Loughmore, and we won the county final. So I'm hoping that the boys do it for him. I know it'll be a tough day for Kieran as well on the day, but yeah, look, it'll be a great final, and may the best team win.
Okay, well, look, lads, thanks very much, and hope both of you enjoy the match. Hopefully,
cheers, lads. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, lads.
Take care, lads. Bye.
Okay, geez, great to get the insight of the two of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure that we could get better, get more stories out of them of their day. Like, yeah, it's just interesting the way Loughmore or Toome or Loughmore's kryptonite back in the day, and like the worm has turned now, and like you have Toome coming in a different way, and I fully get Tony Delaney's confidence, because I get that belief, like being out in Toome there last weekend doing a bit of press work, and just like they couldn't have asked for a better man over the team in Ken Dunn. Like they will step out into the field fully believing they're going to win. Like they will not feel inferior. And like on the flip side, I don't think Loughmore will be weighed down by the favourites tag either. Like, because I think Loughmore just play every game on its merits. Like as John Giles will say a lot. Like they don't get bogged down on things like that. So I think it's really well set up final.
And the two management teams as well, like Eamon Kelly on one side, Ken Dunn on the others. I mean, there's great experience on both sides.
Yeah, like it's just great to be able to sit down with them the last week or so and have a chat, and just say some great interviews in the paper this week with both of like Eamon. It's the easiest management job he's had, because it's like the more or less you just go down, like the players more or less self-police themselves, like, and okay, they do have the dual mandate, and he's not over the football side of things, and like, but it's a trust. Like if you go down there, and you just have to trust them to get on with it. Like, and okay, you'd be worried about injuries and stuff, but that they're, I'm sure since last Sunday, like there's not many. It's all about trusting and because like if you could have had other clubs in the same situation. If maybe 10 days before a county hurling final, you had no training, you had no access to your hurlers, like, but that those boys, like, they're going to be right, and they will be right next weekend. Like, there'll be no excuses if Toome falls short. It won't be the dual mandate. But geez, I don't know if you saw some of them. I thought they were outstanding against my Rovers last weekend. They were so good. Like, it just seemed to be getting better all the time. Like, and now they
For
have a
anyone
bit.
who didn't see it, Shane, like how quickly were they able to start taking lads off?
About midway through the second half, like they could have started whipping them off early. Like, look, my Rovers did definitely underperformed. There's no doubt about it. But like Loughmore, like they were just the speed at which they did everything. They attacked. Like their cornerbacks were up a corner forward. Like if they had constant players constantly on the move, and that when a scoring chance presented itself, they had a shot and went over the bar. I think they only had. They scored 216 and they only kicked 3 wides. They were incredibly efficient, like so. Like everything just seemed to be flowing, like, and like you think it was the perfect way to be going into a 2 finals. Like no injuries. Lee McGrath was on the top of his form. John was excellent. Noel McGrath was excellent again. Like it's not just those 3. Like just every one of them were absolutely flowing. Like there's no doubt about it, and. But then Toome are coming in rested. I think Ken is very meticulous. They actually trained last Sunday at 3:45. They sort of got of the same sort of as the throw-in time next Sunday. Just sort of
Everyone does that.
Small bit of a dry run, like so.
Everyone does that, Shane.
Yeah, well, I don't think we did it in my time, but it was a new thing for me. Like, and like he's, I would say he's ideal. He's very demanding. I couldn't, and it's a great testament to Shane Hassett. I don't know if you read the piece that Shane Hassett has been at every training session. I would have thought when he was with Clare, they'd only see him maybe once a week or something. He's been there every, like they rearranged their training nights around Clare. Like that's how much they want. He felt he needed Shane there every night, and like probably meant Shane Hassett was gone 7 days of the week somewhere over the last year. Like so, Jesus. It's a fair commitment.
Yeah, and keep an eye on the Nina Guardian to get all the interviews and all the previews. Huge amount of stuff in the Guardian, which is available now. Is there any player, or actually, before we get into individual players, which forward line do you think has the more scoring power?
I suppose both have a marquee scoring forward in John McGrath and Darren McCarthy, dead-eye free takers. Tony is right in that there's a couple of Toome forwards that have the potential to underday. Kevin McCarthy probably finally sprang to life, maybe in the semi-final against Mike Carthy, 5 points of play.
Will he keep the socks down again now after playing like that?
It's hard to know. Like I suppose if he's superstitious, he might. Jack Delaney probably hasn't had the year maybe last year when he was shooting the lights out. We know Mark McCarthy is full of ability. But then on the Loughmore side, they're always able to get scores from different players. Like Kieran Connolly, he's really back to pouring like 2 or 3 pints a game. Ed Connolly is going well. I think the interesting one for me is will Liam Tracy, like who they have. We know 5 or 6 forwards, and generally in Kieran McCormack or Kieran McGrath has started. And generally, whoever starts doesn't tend to impact the game, but they're both brilliant impact subs. But then Liam Tracy's back from injury now, and whereas Liam Tracy, before he got injured, was on the starting. I would think Liam Tracy's probably going to start, and that you'll have both Kieran McGrath and Kieran McCormack as their impact subs, which is a big boon for them. I think they're pretty even in terms of, like, we know Dara McCarthy and John McGrath will score heavily. It's who can, and I think they both have sort of second and third string forwards. I'm not saying that flippantly, but with the potential to be match winners. Liam McGrath too. Like I think Liam having the man of the match performance for the footballers last weekend would be a big thing for him as well.
And then even the free taking, we don't expect John McGrath to miss one, and we don't really like Darren McCarthy has played in a lot of big games as well.
Yeah,
but like if it's coming down the latter stages of the game and it's point for point and it's free for free, which could be at this time of the year, it's going to be heavy hitting, all that kind of stuff, that's slipping and the odd foul or whatever. It's going to be some test of Darren McCarthy because at this stage of a final when John McGrath, you're nearly expecting him to pop them all over. Yeah,
but I tell you, Darren McCarthy is as confident a young forward as I've seen in a long time. Like I think I've said it a good few times. Like he just the he relishes it. Like, he doesn't get burdened by this. We've seen him score big frees for Nina CBS. We've seen him for the Tip under 20s. Like, I don't think if he's standing over a difficult free, maybe to win the county final or maybe a point down with a minute to go, I'd have no qualms about him. I'd have every confidence that he'd stick it over the bar. I think he relishes those moments. I think the interesting thing for me will be how, I don't know if you saw the semi-finals, like Toome were very, very direct in their approach. And we saw how effective Thurles were when they went direct into Paddy Creedon. Like, will Toome Vara be, or will Loughmore will probably be alive to that, as Webby said, like maybe Brian McGrath sitting a little bit deeper. So I'm sure Toome would probably go that way for a start. Can we get early ball into Darren McCarthy, maybe one-on-ones, and see how that goes from there?
Yeah, I'm just going through Toome's games just to see when they last conceded a goal, and it's back in the group stages against Killerwan. So they conceded one against Killerwan, one against Drum, one against Burris, and none since. So they're fairly miserly at the back in terms of goals. Yeah,
and like that's a lot of that's down to their work rate. Like in the semi-final, like that some of their that last ditch tackling and blocking was incredible. Like they don't give up on anything back there, and yeah, I think if they can keep, like what Loughmore probably haven't, like the Loughmore were goalless against Sarsfields. The quarterfinal, they got two, and a few gifts in the quarterfinal by Killerwan. So is there certain aspects of the game you're looking forward to?
I just think the hard hitting. I think it's going to be a dogfight, and I think that's what it'll come down to. Like, I do think John McGrath seems. I mean, this isn't anything new, but he does deliver in these games. And I'd be just more confident that if the game is coming into the melting pot late on, that those cool heads with Loughmore, and I think Micheal Webster kind of alluded to it as well, that they've been here a number of times. They know how to get over the line. A lot of their players know how to get over the line at inter-county level as well as club level. So if it's a really tight game going down the stretch, Loughmore never besh and all that kind of crack, but they kind of have it every which way. They've energy in the team, they've the brains in the team, they've the composure in the team. And look, Toome have an awful lot of that as well. But if you're going to say a puck of a ball on a big day like this, I'd probably just go with Loughmore. What about you?
Yeah, I'm the same. I just think their composure. Like I think if he gets to the last 10 or 15 minutes, like Loughmore are a team that don't really play the occasion at the moment. They're a lot like that great Toome team. They go out and just try and win a game, and just that this next Sunday is a game with a trophy at the end of it. And say the last 5 or 10 minutes, like I don't know if you saw Niall McIntyre, I think, did a great piece last week on the last 5 minutes of the Sarsfields game. Like, it was a two score match, 2-point game, and the way in those conditions Loughmore controlled the ball, I don't think they even gave up a scoring chance. Like, they're just so composed on that ball. Like they just never panic. And I just think in that last 5 minutes, and I think it will go into the last 5 or 10 minutes, I just think that composure could be the difference in the end. I think it'll be a good final. I think Toome Vara will perform. They'll be ready. Be interested. The thing is, the second year in a row now we'll have two teams changing jerseys. You have one in yellow and one in navy, so it'll be a little odd on that point of view. So I think we'll get a good final. I really do think. I haven't seen the forecast yet, but there's no talks of storms or anything. So I just hope we get a good crowd in there. Like, it'd be big for Toome, and look, a lot more on the cusp of a third double in 11 years. Like, geez, it'll be incredible. Like what they're doing. Like I say, I couldn't get over how good they were in football last weekend. They were incredible.
Yeah, and actually, in terms of the weather, I was only just thinking about it there earlier. Like, the team I'm training at the moment, you're expected this Saturday, maybe with the time of the year coming into mid-October, could be scuttery all weather, could be wind coming in sideways, anything. And then, like, the last 4 training sessions, it's been calm and it's been the finest. But then you just don't know what it's going to be like. So even trying to prepare, you're thinking, right, we'll prepare and training now for all sorts of weather. Then it's calm, come into the match, and it's a monsoon. So you just don't know how it'll affect it. And Richard Hogan is wondering, will Toome get goals? then I would reckon they'd need 2 goals.
Yeah, and they have the potential. Like if Darragh McCarthy gets some 1-on-1s, he will go for a goal because like he likes taking on his man. Look, Jack Delaney has the potential to get a goal. We know Mark McCarthy does too. Like so, that's why I think the Toome's. It'll be definitely a contrast in styles. Toome definitely off their own puck outs. I'd say they'll probably be going long for a start. In general play, they're good at mixing it around. Whereas Loughmore, we know they do like to get the ball into play and use it to the best of their ability. Whether that's long or short.
Keep the comments coming in. Let us know who you think will win it, who will be the key players, whatever it might be. Get your opinion in there. Just in the Premier Intermediate final, that Cashel King Cormacs and Carrick Swan. You kind of reckon that there's, I mean, based on every conversation we've had in recent times about it, that there'll be a big crowd at this.
There should be. Like it's great. Like you have 2 town teams, and I know sometimes when you get town teams, maybe that don't have, as you think they have a big population, but like town teams can get pulled between soccer and rugby, and if like they're not all GAA people. Like, but I just think the fact that the Swan and Cashel haven't been in the finals over the years, there might be a factor where we'll get. I'm sure they'll be working double time the last 2 weeks in terms of getting the word out to the schools and all their juvenile clubs to get the crowd out to Semple Stadium on Sunday. And I just see there was a message there in the comments of that this game could be the best of the 2 on Sunday, and it has the potential to do it. Like I think this is one. This one could go down to the wire. This one could go to a replay too. This is the one I can't call. There's a lot of people are making Cashel favourites, and again, I think they're definitely coming with momentum. They have probably more of the marquee names, but that brings with its own pressure too. Like they've had the marquee names for the last couple of years, and they haven't gotten over the line. They're after progressing another bit this year. But it's how they're it'll inside the last 5 or 10 minutes next Sunday, who'll have that bit of composure. And I was very impressed with how Carrick Swan saw out that match against Gortnahoe, like in the second half. Like Cashel got the goals in extra time, but Upper Church were always coming at them. Like Upper Church outscored them in terms of scores in extra time, which was the goals that were the difference. And that maybe that bit of extra quality is definitely on the Cashel side to get those maybe big scores. But there's definitely a if I had to put a fiver on it, there's something about the way Cashel or Carrick Swan have been going all year. I did fancy Gortnahoe in the semi-final, and I just very impressed the way Carrick Swan negotiated that match. The way they've laid out their team, like we all know, Aaron O'Halloran was probably more of an inside back for at underage level, midfield general. I could see it at 18 years of age, 19 years of age. You have Gavin O'Halloran, I think, is one of the best club hurlers in pound for pound in the county. I've seen bits and pieces of Callan Lanigan. I'm looking forward to seeing him in the flesh now. Like he's had an incredible year for the Swan. But yeah, I think it goes to a replay if it ends in a draw. I wouldn't be surprised maybe if this one needs a second day.
But in terms of form lines, Gortnahoe beat a team Gortnahoe were beaten in the semi-final by the Swan, and that's a team that hasn't been playing at senior level and regularly, whereas Cashel beat an Upper Church team that were in a county semi-final at senior level just a couple of years ago, that are pockmarked with players with huge experience at that level. So if we were just to talk about the form lines alone, and obviously Upper Church got relegated last year, but it's not like there were some disastrous humdrum team that went down. No. So just on the form lines of getting through from the semi-finals, that's quite impressive for Cashel to do it against an Upper Church team that's very used to the stadium. Absolutely,
and they beat Thurles Sarsfields, who probably would have been my favourites after the group stage. We're going back to last year and how good they were getting to the final, and they beaten Boherlahan as well. Like definitely the extra game in the preliminary quarter final, it stood to Cashel. But like Carrick Swan beat a Cashel team, beat a Gortnahoe team that Cashel lost. I know that was 2 months ago. A lot has happened. So like I just wouldn't. And like that was a Gortnahoe team that were in the final 2 years ago. Like they probably had done better at Premier Intermediate level in recent years than Cashel did. So like I wouldn't downplay maybe the manner of Carrick Swans win over Gorton, who were a very seasoned team themselves. Like so, yeah, definitely. Like, look, it'll be a huge downer for whichever club or will I suppose will be still in Premier Intermediate next weekend. Like either the West is going to get their second senior team back, or the South. Like so, yeah, I just think it'll be a cracking atmosphere. I think one of the commenters there, I think Cashel and the Carrick and Shore will get the numbers out, and I said there could be as big. Probably they wouldn't be surprised if there could be a bigger crowd in for the first match and the second match. Like if hopefully that the first crowd in for the first game stay around, was there is a trend now for a lot of people to leave after their own game, so hopefully that doesn't happen. But look, county hurling final day is a big deal for Tipperary hurling. Like we could do with 2 good games. We could do it with a positive news. Like look, everything has to start somewhere. Maybe in terms of inter-county rebuild, and if we get 2 good finals at the weekend, and maybe players that Liam Cahill would probably have on his radar, and maybe reinforces his thinking. I'm sure. Look, there's rumours going around that look, you were into mid-October to be back training, probably the start of December officially. Like so. Like the panel is probably, I would assume, maybe after this weekend, maybe a lot of phone calls will be made to say who's in and who's out, and lads, the words will start leaking out like so once all the hurling finals are complete. So big day for big day for all the clubs involved. Big day for the county too.
Yeah, well, the WhatsApp messages are alive with forwarded messages suggesting who's in and out of the county panel, but we're not going to discuss it based on that. I'll go through some comments here. Richard Hogan says Danny O'Hanlon seems to be a big player for the Swan off the bench. River Power, Cashel full backline is very leaky. Swans will get goal chances, up to them to take them. They will get the chance to win it. Back to Richard Hogan, I think the Swan have only lost 1 game all year. River Power, Swan are very good at keeping possession. Tip hurling 2024. How do you think Cashel or the Swan would cope in senior? Be interesting if Swan go up, considering they'll have Stephen Tobin next year. Just read the final 2 comments, and Shane, you can jump in if you like. The only thing is great, first games have a tendency to suck all the energy out of the second game. People are saying that Cahill has swung the axe, probably just rumours. So Shane, any of that interest you?
I think whoever wins the Premier Intermediate final will. I think they'll be like both are kind of similar in that they're coming up not with an old team. Like they'll be coming up at the right time, where maybe they get into senior level and could stay there for a while. Like so, and as I said, the longer you like for the loser, you go back to the bottom of the hill again with all the other 15 Premier Intermediate teams next year, and there's no guarantee maybe you'll get beaten back to a final. Like you have Upper Church, I'm sure, regalvanise themselves. Gorton, who will be there again. Like, yeah, I still think if Templederry can put their best 15 on the field next year, maybe they mightn't have the deepest panel, but Jesus, we saw this year at senior level, they can score with anyone. Like, and you probably don't need the tightest defense at Premier Intermediate level, but once you have a good set of forwards, you can win a lot of games. So, yeah, it's always a great day in Thurles, and I just hope we get a good crowd. I think the attendance last year, I think, was only very disappointing. So I would like to think maybe could we get up somewhere around 7,000 or 8,000, have a right good atmosphere there.
Yeah, so the Premier Intermediate relegation final is heading for a replay this weekend in the Rag. That's on Saturday at 3:00. Newport against Tracy's. Now, Oren Floyd and Sean O'Brien were flown back for Newport the last time. Tracy's brought back Dara Kennedy and Brian Carey. You know, and it's not cheap to do so. No. Do you think does it look like the 2 teams are going to do the same again?
Potentially. We have Niall McIntyre did a great feature piece on I suppose the trend of maybe clubs bringing players back, particularly for relegation finals. They don't bring them back for finals. Like, and I think both managements were keeping their cards close to their chest about who is going to be maybe back or not. And like, there's I believe Oren Floyd is still here. I don't know about Sean O'Brien or the 2 Sean Tracy lads. The 2 Tracy lads probably do, I suppose, the way Colin Flannery's done it. That's what 4 or 5 hour flight from Dubai. It's nearly like coming home for a long weekend or something. So maybe they could have done it as well. Yeah, it's I'd say both teams are just hoping on Sunday. or Saturday afternoon in the Rag that it's the better weather conditions than the last day, and I think Saturday looks half decent. So I just hope it's resolved in on general play. Maybe it goes to extra time. I hope it doesn't go to penalties. I really hope that whoever the ref is, and if it's level after extra time, just play another minute, somebody gets the next score. I'd hate to see a team relegated on penalty shots. Like just have it done one way or the other.
Yeah, I enjoyed them. We'll go on to the intermediate final this weekend. Moneygall against Ballingarry. How do you see that going?
Yeah, this will be this is like both teams are in cracking. Like Ballingarry have been very, very consistent all year. Won County League Division 3, beaten Moneygall in the final game. Moneygall were maybe down a couple of bodies that night, including Sean Kennelly, but they won that game decisively. Like, so even without, like, I would have said if Moneygall were at full strength, they would have been under pressure that night. But Moneygall have probably been favourites at the start since the start of the championship year with all their players together. They haven't missed a beat so far. I just think maybe that scare in the semi-final against Kappa White would have actually done them a lot more. It would be more positive now than anything else. Just maybe any bit of complacency probably gone out with their system now, and the fact that they're playing a Ballingarry team who give them a bit of a lesson in that league final. Like, there'll be a respect there. There'll be no fear. But Ballingarry know, I suppose, that they know how to play them too. Like there'll be no fear factor on either side. I think it'll be a good final. I think it'll be pretty tight. Just purely on the basis that Moneygall were in the final 2 years ago. They were in the semi-final last year. They've been the early men. I think maybe this could well be their time. But like Ballingarry's tradition over the years is that when they get to finals, they're very, very hard to beat. Like, so, yeah, I give them the parochial nod to Moneygall, but I do think Richard Hogan says there's pressure. There probably is more pressure on them, all right, because it's that with the profile of their team, like they're young, but the longer say it's a lot like Cashel and Carrick Swan. The longer you say maybe in intermediate, the harder it's going to be to get out of it. And like, I think if Moneygall went up straight away, I think they could even contend for Premier Intermediate next year with the talent they have in their forward line. So, yeah, I think this will be I think this could be a one-score game, but maybe I think the favourites Moneygall deserve it, but I think they'll just with Joe Fogarty and Sean Kennelly. It's like, and then on the flip side, Ballingarry have Dylan Walsh. Like, I just think if Ballingarry managed to keep one of those Moneygall forwards quiet, they have other forwards that could win the game. And I just think if Moneygall keep Dylan Walsh quiet, have Ballingarry got another player to take the pressure to scoring load off him, I'm not sure they do. So probably we'll just give the nod to Moneygall.
Yeah, you kind of took the words out of my mouth with that one. Then just the Junior A hurling final, Killadangan against Micheal Rovers. And Killadangan are going in search of a dual double, aren't they?
Yeah, they're in the Junior A football final the following weekend against Kickham. So I suppose the fact that they would have been hoping to be in a senior final this weekend, and like they're still in a final with their juniors, and I suppose off to back-to-back relegations, like they were Premier Intermediate 2 years ago, their second team, and fell back through Intermediate last year and back to Junior A. Like, you would have thought maybe things would go a little stale, but no, they've sort of galvanized themselves and are back in the final. And look, I think they have a great chance against Micheal Rovers. Like, it's like you think Micheal Rovers, I'm sure it hasn't been it was probably a tough place this week in Micheal Rovers after losing that football semi-final. Just the manner of it, like they just didn't show up, like they just never performed, and like they were in the same boat as Loughmore with the dual mandate. And look, I don't know how what would you say? Has that schedule started to catch up in them a bit? It's hard to know, maybe psychologically or something last week, and they just looked off it. I just don't know the mindset. I think it's the same management and the same group of players over this junior hurling team. Like, how will that fit ahead of Saturday? So look, it'll be a big psychological thing for Micheal Rovers to turn things around, and Killadangan are probably coming in at a better frame of mind. You know, like you have Dan O'Mara I think he score a couple of goals in the final last year, senior final. Owen Sharkey's played in senior final last year. Mark Minahan's loads of experience, Johnny Horn. So like it's an experienced Killadangan team, like so have played in a lot of finals over the years. So I'm sure Killadangan would much prefer to be in the senior final. It'd be nice, I wouldn't say consolation prize, but it'd be nice for it just even shows their strength as a club. Like don't win senior, but their second team still picks up a bit of county silverware at the end of the day.
Yeah, some of the other fixtures this weekend, the Junior B semi-finals are on. Care against Silvermines in Drumban, 4 o'clock on Saturday. On Sunday, then Cappawhite will meet Newport in Kilcommon. The under-19 hurling final as well, Holy Cross Ballycahill against St. Mary's. That's in Golden at 4 o'clock on Saturday. So loads going on, Shane.
Yeah, like that under-19 final could be that. That'll be a really tasty one. We know how good Holy Cross are at underage, and like St. Mary's beat a good Cashel team in the county semi-final. So I think that'll be a tasty one. Like there's some great fixtures like hurling final weekend it's not just the big games in the stadium on Sunday. It's like it really is like there's loads of games, like particularly on Saturday, and then with that relegation replay on as well. Like there's great choice on offer. And like not forgetting the Camogies, a lot of Camogie finals and semi-finals on this weekend.
Yeah, just before I ask you about them, we've already kind of touched on Loughmore beating Mile Rovers comfortably in the football, but just Clonmel made short enough work of Kilsheed and Kilcash.
Yeah, 15 points to 5 or something. Yeah, just very, very disappointing. I thought Kilsheed would probably give a better counter themselves. I thought maybe Commercials were a little vulnerable coming into the game, but like they kept them at arm's length. I just think when you're taking on a Commercial team like that, you've got to go for it. I think you've got any bit of ball, you've got to take it back at them hard and fast. And but like if you allow them to set up defensively, they'll negate you. Like, and they have too much quality going the other way. Even if you set up with maybe plenty of guys back, they'll just pick you apart. Like, and you say 4 misses versus 4 players missing for Commercial spine, and Jason Lonergan and Kevin Fahey went off injured during the game. So, like from their point of view, to be back in another final is big for them. And like that final against Loughmore, like that'll be a terrific final in itself on Sunday week. Like there's a great respect between the two. Both teams can play open, attractive football as well, and they played a cracker of a game in Clonarty in the group stage a couple of weeks ago. So that's one to look forward to on Sunday week.
Yeah, and then the semi-final previews for the Tipperary Camogie, Drummond against Loughmore or Clonarty Rossmore should be a big one, and then Turles against Cashel King Cormacs.
Yeah, but Saturday afternoon in the Rag. Drummond Clonarty, this is their 5th year meeting in the knockout stages. Drum won the last 4 finals against Clonarty, so like Clonarty are getting closer the whole time. But there's been nothing to suggest this year that Drummond are missing a beat. The irony would be as if Clonarty managed to beat him this year in a semi but didn't win the final. Like, so like I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Clonarty managed to win this semi-final at the weekend, but form suggests that Drummond are worthy favourites, and I'd fancy them to get through. And like I think Turles Sarsfields will probably be too strong for Cashel in the other semi-final. They only went a few weeks ago. It was about 5-15 to 3-9 or something. Like the scoring in this Turles team is incredible. Like, and they're only getting better. And so yeah, there'll be 2 good semi-finals on Saturday. And then on Sunday is the intermediate final, Moneygall against Mycarkey Boris, 1 o'clock in Camogie grounds. Like, big weekend for Moneygall. Like, to be 2 intermediate finals, one with their men on Saturday and one with the girls on Sunday. And the girls lost this final last year to Shannon Rover. So, but I think they're coming against a Mycarkey team. It's incredible. They won the Junior B 2 years ago. They won the Junior A last year, and now they're intermediate final. Just they're a club that they're coming with loads of underage talent, and like you see in Camogie, a club can rise very, very quickly. And I think Moneygall have it all to do. I think maybe Mycarkey's momentum could be the difference here.
Yeah, and then a final thing, we haven't touched on it yet, but your clubmate Patrick Bonner Maher has retired Tipperary after 16 years, I think, involved. Had some brilliant days, had some tough injuries, and everyone would just say an unbelievable servant to the jersey.
Oh, absolutely. And like you probably, when you think about that Tip team, like you have Bonner and Noel and Brendan and Pádraig and Mikey Cahill, like the sort of the 5 or 6 that sort of came up even from that minor team, the 5 guys that were always consistent there. Ash looked just an incredible run. Like you think when he got on that minor team in 2007, and you think he really put our club on the map. It's like we hadn't a lot of maybe guys making it at inter-county level after Ken Hogan, and like to think 2014 he was still there. And like I said to myself, I was chatting with him last weekend after we won the final, and he was talking about going back to the gym Monday morning. I said, is this guy going to give it another go next year? Like, and I said I wouldn't put it past him, because like he's such a competitor, and I'm sure it would have probably been difficult for him even to come to the realization that I've no more to give, like at inter-county level. Like, and I'm sort of delighted he's gone out on his own terms. Like he definitely deserved to you'd say go out on his own terms rather than being shoved. Like you think Pádraig Maher didn't get to go out on his own terms, like that was taken away from him with the injury. And I just like there's no doubt about it. I'd say from your point of view, Shane, definitely probably the most popular of all those great players we had. Like every time he came off early, maybe in the game, he got a cheer. Every time he came on as a sub, he got an extra cheer more than any other player. Like the supporters loved him. Yeah,
like everyone loves an aggressive player who would put their head in where others wouldn't put their hurley.
Yeah.
So he always did that. Just who doesn't love that player that just puts the body?
I think Tip supporters appreciate that type of player more than even the. I'm not the Noel McGrath, like Jesus, like everybody loved it. Just that guy who just go through a brick wall.
Yeah, and like it came on the back of like his emergence came on the back of an era when, for so long people were talking about, Tip don't have ball winning half forwards. And, he goes in around 2010 and, he becomes that ball winner, that industrious player. And something like, he was obviously a good stick man, but like you'd have Noel McGrath and maybe Callan or whatever, just wizards with the stick. But what I think is sometimes overlooked by people is like how incredible his first touch was, especially on the run. Like, so there's different ways of being a magician with it, but the first touch on the move was always incredible.
Yeah, like I always got annoyed when people said he wasn't the most. I wouldn't say easy in the Irish skill. Bonner Maher in skill level is ridiculous. Like what that man could do to kill a ball. Or even win it in a tight area was ridiculous. Like he just and I think another thing that was underappreciated was when he got the ball and gave a pass, he rarely gave a bad pass, even a stick pass. Like it was always on the money. Even a hand pass, it was always into somebody's stride. Like he was just like he was near. I'd say he was nearly a perfectionist in what he did. And like I always. Like there'd be always moments in games like in like the 2016 All-Ireland final, like we had the game won and he gets that point at the very end. I just thought it was a perfect exclamation mark of his ability of catching that high ball and driving on and sticking it over the bar. And I say he didn't even look the ball going over the bar. He's gone back to position. Like he thought, like you were thinking he'd be more than entitled to stick his arm up in the air and say, we have this. No, he played to the final whistle. And like I always remember 2019, like I thought after 3 rounds he was hurler of the year for me after 3 rounds. Like I thought his most complete game was the Clare match in Ennis in 2019. I gave him 10 out of 10 that day for player rating. I thought he was incredible. And then 2 weeks later, the knee goes. Like just shows the cruelty of how quickly things can change. Like I thought that three game session, I thought his best individual game was the 2014 drawn final against Kilkenny. Like you think when Brian Cody more or less reorganized his defense to get Kieran Joyce into the team for the replay just to negate him. But I did think his three game body of work at the start of the 2019 Cork, Waterford and Clare was probably his best group of games together. He was incredible for that 3 games. So yeah, 2014 was probably his most complete individual game.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, I think we've it all covered, and as we said earlier in the show, the Nina Guardian is available now, so there's a huge amount of coverage of all things Tipperary GAA. So go and have a look for that. And Shane, enjoy the weekend coming up. We'll chat next week.